I am Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. We'll tell you why this guy is being called a hero in France and how we got to meet the president. Mo Salah had his Champions League final ruined after a foul from Sergio Ramos. Now the internet's coming for Sergio. It's International Day of Action for Women's Health. We look at the vastly various health outcomes women face around the globe. And Ahmed's in Gaza to tell us about a delicious Ramadan dessert. On top of our newsfeed today, Mamoudou Gassama. His name is trending around the globe after he did this in Paris over the weekend. Well, here he is, free climbing 4 floors of an apartment building to rescue a kid. A 4-year-old was hanging from railings and Mr. Gassama saved him from falling. The kid's parents were not in the apartment. His dad's going to be in court later today. This is what Mamoudou said after reporters tracked him down at the weekend.
I heard all these people shouting and cars sounding their horns. I immediately began to climb up the balcony. Thank God I saved the child.
Well, the French President Emmanuel Macron was so impressed he invited Mr. Gassama for a meeting. The 22-year-old is a recent migrant from Mali but is now a French citizen because of his bravery. The president said Mr. Gassama can also join the fire service if he wants, which he will be very well suited for. All right, let's take a look at what else is trending around the world on social media. Now, Mo Salah and the Champions League final and Sergio Ramos. Now that's Mo Salah of Liverpool and Sergio Ramos of Real Madrid tussling for the ball. Next, they lock arms, and next Sergio uses all his experience from World Cups and European Cups to pin Mo Salah's arm, and they both fall with a full weight on it. Mo's shoulder was dislocated. His arm could have been broken. He left the pitch in tears. Real Madrid won the game 3-1. Now the internet's looking for revenge. There's a change.org petition with around 300,000 signatures calling for Sergio Ramos to be punished by FIFA and UEFA, football's governing bodies, for what he did to Mo. Mo says he's had a very tough time, but he is a fighter despite the odds. He's confident he'll be ready for Russia for the World Cup with Egypt to make you all proud. He says the love and support will give him the strength he needs. Now, this is the work of the artist and actor Jim Carrey. It's a commentary on America's immigration system after the news over the weekend that more than 1,500 children are lost in the US after being separated from their parents at the border. Now, Carrey posted the work on Twitter, and his tweet ends with the words, "From shining city to evil empire in under 500 days." Well, on Sunday morning, the first daughter of Ivanka Trump tweeted this picture of her and her son. She wrote, "My heart, #Sunday morning." And the internet wasn't happy. She's been criticized by loads of people, best summed up by this guy, Brian Klaas, an academic who writes for the Washington Post. He says, "This is so unbelievably tone deaf that given the public outrage growing over young kids being forcibly ripped from their arms of their parents at the border." Now this appears to be Angelina Jolie in trouble with the law in Indonesia. And here's Kim Kardashian and Scarlett Johansson in the back of a police van. And this one is Rihanna. She's also in trouble, all thanks to the guy she's pictured with there in the hat. Now, he's an Indonesian artist called Agan Harahap. I say pictured in a loose sense. These images have all been doctored, of course. Harahap says he's working to warn Indonesians of the dangers of fake news. His Instagram is great, and my producer, Zuhal, was particularly taken with this picture of Kim Jong-un in traditional Indonesian dress. Now, it's the International Day of Action for Women's Health, May the 28th, and it comes just 2 days after Ireland voted to change the lives of women there by repealing the law on abortion. Now, the top trending hashtag after the result was announced repealed the 8th being the amendment that banned abortion back in 1983. And here's how some marked it online. The writer Graham Linehan used a picture from his own show, Father Ted, to demonstrate the referendum result. This meme has been shared too, with repealing the 8th being described as the relentless march of social progress. And the Dublin City Councillor Rebecca Moynihan tweeted a picture of a woman laying flowers at the mural of Savita Halappanavar. Now, she died from sepsis in 2012 after she was denied an emergency abortion during a miscarriage. That sparked the campaign to repeal the 8th. And the repealing of that law will benefit women across Ireland. But on the International Day of Action on Women's Health, Kim's been looking at how women's health issues are treated around the world.
Women's rights are human rights. That's easy enough to get behind. So why then is the natural extension that the sexual and reproductive rights of women are also human rights so controversial? And why, as we argue over it, are so many women across the globe dying? Take maternal death, for example, which, by the way, is defined as being preventable. In Sierra Leone, roughly 1,300 out of every 100,000 women will die simply from being pregnant or giving birth. And the rates for the rest of sub-Saharan Africa are not much better. Compare that to the other end of the scale in Poland, where only 3 out of every 100,000 women will die from childbirth or pregnancy complications. Then there's the A issue, abortion. Ireland may be celebrating, but many other countries still lag behind. According to the World Health Organization, 25 million unsafe abortions take place every year. Many of those take place in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, where highly restrictive abortion laws still reign. The most restrictive is in El Salvador, where not only is abortion illegal in all circumstances, but women can be sent to prison for having even a miscarriage or stillborn if the fetus is deemed viable by the courts. Access to contraceptives is another big issue for women worldwide. A UN report, which, by the way, only surveyed women who were already married, found at least 1 in 10 women didn't want to get pregnant but could not access contraception. The number is much higher again in sub-Saharan Africa, where almost a quarter of women who wanted contraception could not get it. But not all is well in the West either. In the US, President Donald Trump has also reinstated and expanded the global gag rule, which drastically cuts health funding globally, including family planning and reproductive health programs. Surely then, the UN is stepping in. Well, here's the kicker. Aside from a rather broad category of maternal health, the Millennium Development Goals don't mention anything about sexual or reproductive rights of women at all.
Now, Narendra Modi has been Prime Minister of India for the last 4 years. Shri has been having a look back at whether Mr. Modi has delivered on any of his promises.
Narendra Modi has been in charge of India for 4 years. So is it time to celebrate or contemplate? Modi promised jobs, inclusive development and safety for women. His government can claim some achievements: financial inclusion, rural electrification and in foreign policy. But is everyone happy? Women. A year after Modi came to power, he launched a campaign to save and educate girls. But are India's daughters really safe? The brutal gang rape and murder of an 8-year-old in India-administered Kashmir caused national outrage. The rapist was defended by fellow party members. Now, in another case, a 16-year-old girl was allegedly raped in Unnao by a member of Modi's BJP party. Her father was brutally assaulted by the rapist's supporters and died in police custody. Modi spoke out only after opposition and media pressure. Even then, he promised justice to daughters but refused to say rape. He also didn't recognize the role of his own party supporters in these crimes. Now, reports say that the rape crisis in India has worsened under Modi's rule and violence has increased in BJP-ruled states. Minorities. Communal violence in India rose by 17% last year. There were 822 instances recorded in 2017 alone, the highest ever in 3 years. Lynchings under the garb of cow protection have become common. A 16-year-old Muslim boy was stabbed to death on a train by a mob who accused him of carrying beef, one of the many beef lynching cases. And Muslims aren't the only victims. Dalits at the bottom of the Hindu caste system have been targets too. A Dalit farmer was beaten to death for owning a horse. Others were flogged for skinning a cow. While Modi boasts about economic development, have Hindu extremist groups been emboldened under his rule? Some believe so. Farmers. Modi promised to double the incomes of farmers by 2022, but many are still struggling. The opposition says that farmer suicides have risen by 41%. Now, earlier this year, over 50,000 farmers marched 200 kilometers to raise their voices in the city of Mumbai, wanting debt waivers and better prices. Their demands were accepted by the state government, but core issues are still to be addressed. Youth. Modi made youth one of his top priorities in pre-election speeches, promising to create 10 million jobs a year. But unemployment is still high. There are 31 million unemployed Indians, and the government is nowhere near its job creation target. Also, ambitious projects like Make in India have not got the expected response. However, the BJP has had some successes under Modi, but many across the country are asking if it's enough.
We're going to take you around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Monday. And Italy is still without a functioning government, and now people are asking for the president to be impeached. Elections held in March were inconclusive. No one party got the majority that they needed. The president, Sergio Mattarella, vetoed the man chosen to be finance minister by the League and the Five Star Movement. They're trying to form a government. The man chosen, Paolo Savona, wants to pull Italy out of the European Union, like Brexit, but worse, Italy uses the euro. Now, his rejection by the president is an unprecedented use of his powers and makes new elections in the country in the coming months almost certain. After President Trump's breakup letter to Kim Jong-un last week, calling off their planned meeting, his tweet last night suggests he might have changed his mind. He says that our United States team has arrived in North Korea to make arrangements for the summit between Kim Jong-un and myself. So, is it back on, or is it? In the words of Mr. Trump, we will see. And from the look of these pictures, Kim Jong-un is already in Singapore waiting, or at least this pretty terrible lookalike is. More stunning pictures coming out of Hawaii as nature continues to reclaim the island from man. The volcano there has been erupting for 3 weeks. Thousands of people have been evacuated. It shows no signs of settling down. Well, that was the Bangtan Boys, better known as BTS, and they've become the first Korean band to top the US album charts. The K-pop 7-piece are at #1 with their album Love Yourself, Tia, which may be the greatest album name of all time. The video you're watching for the song Fake Love has had more than 100 million views on YouTube in just a week. Well, I went to see it, and there are about 3 other people in the cinema. Star Wars: A Solo Story has had a disappointing box office opening around the world and in the US. The latest anthology film made $83 million in America, way below what was expected. It made just $10 million in China. I thought it was fine. All right, let's take you to Gaza now, and Ahmed's going to tell you about a traditional Ramadan dessert.
Ramadan Kareem. We're back in Tel Hawa neighborhood, back here in Gaza for another Ramadan special. And today, it's about Kataif. If you don't know what it is, it's the nicest dessert there is to be offered in Ramadan. Some people call it Kataif, some people call it Ataif, and if you don't know Arabic, you probably call it Kataif.
هذا قطايف كل سنة.
والله؟
كل عام وإن شاء الله وأنتم بخير يا رب.
وأنت بخير وأنت بخير. ممكن تقول لنا بتعملي القطايف دي إزاي؟ يعني تفصل لنا هي فيها إيه بالظبط عشان في ناس
فيها سميد، فيها طحين، فيها مية بس.
بس كده؟
رمضان كريم وكل عام وأنتم بألف خير.
لو القطايف دي فعلا حلوة ولا لأ؟ قول لنا بقى، قول لنا الحقيقة، إحنا عايزين الحقيقة بقى.
لا مظبطة ما شاء الله زاكية.
اسمك يا حبيبتي؟ اسمك إيه؟ ها؟ ما تكسفيش. She's so cute, isn't she? Huh? Look at her.
من اول ما انبنت الابراج تقريبا. اتمنى لهم كل سنه وان شاء الله هم سالمين ورمضان كريم ويجعلهم يكونوا من عوال.
أنا بقول لك يعني إحنا رغم الألم ورغم الحصار ورغم الجوع ورغم قلة الشغل وقلة الأمور هذه بدنا ناكل قطايف وبدنا نمشي أمورنا بأحسن ما يكون. إيش بدنا وحناكل قطايف بإذن الله.
رمضان كريم.
رمضان كريم؟ طب هتديني قطيفة كده ولا إيه؟
خد يا عم.
ديسكاونت يعني ولا إيه؟
ديسكاونت.
والله؟ حبيب قلبي. So we found the Cristiano Ronaldo of Gaza. اسمك إيه؟
كريستيانو رونالدو من غزة.
والله؟ طب مش محمد صلاح؟
لا رونالدو.
طب القطايف هنا حلوة ولا لا؟
يا جمالك القطايف. رمضان كريم.
And finally, because it's Monday, we've got an animals doing stuff. And this one is a gang of kangaroos hanging out at a beach in Queensland in Australia. As you can see from these pictures, they seem to be enjoying themselves in the waves just like people. Music picked by my producer Ezra. That's all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to us with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.